will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Science fiction, double feature, Dr. X will build a creature, see androids fighting, Brad and Janet, and Francis stars and Forbidden Planet. At the late night double feature, picture show.
Welcome, everybody, to our slightly tweaked LA-a-thon. We promised LA-a-thon, but then we realized our buddy Kevin Bacon is in both as well, as Devin has provided us with some bacon. He ate most of it, though, because he's a fat ass. But that's
I brought the bacon, and even better, it's maple.
Yes. So, everyone, we are doing LA Bacon-A-Thon with MaXXXine first, and then Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, both taking place in LA and both having Kevin Bacon. So, you know who we are. Obviously, I don't need to do much introductions. So let's get into it. Devin, stop eating bacon. Jesus Christ. Fucking lose some weight, you fat ass. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Like, really? Come on. Look at my fucking titties. Come on. I'm obese. Come on. Devin, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's get into this. What are the odds that Kevin Bacon plays two sleazy antagonists in sequels that are a throwback to 1980s films that take place in LA that also come out the same week? This was definitely one of my most anticipated of the year. After Ty West decided to start making good movies with X and then followed it up with The Amazing Pearl, there was a lot riding on this entry in Ty West's X series. And while it is a disappointment to some, it wasn't to me. And that's all that matters. Even though it does have some shortcomings. Mia Goth returns to the title role of Maxine Minx, and she owns this fucking movie. I've seen a lot of people say that this falls into the trappings of 1980s slasher flicks. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but when it comes to Maxine fucking Minx, as she says so herself in the movie, she does fucking not. Did any of these motherfuckers watch that scene in the alleyway, as evident by my username? She ain't your average final fucking girl, and I loved every second of her on screen. As I said, and I will say it again, she absolutely fucking owns every second of this film. The rest of the supporting cast don't do a ton, as the spotlight is mainly on Maxine, so I didn't mind it. However, Giancarlo Esposito definitely steals the show a bit when it comes to his character, Teddy Knight Esquire. Esposito is a phenomenal actor, and I'm glad he was actually able to show some range here and not just play discount Gus Fring that I feel like he's been stuck as ever since Better Call Saul ended. Here he's funny and sleazy, and I loved every second of it. Then there's Elizabeth Debicki as Elizabeth Bender, who is great, more about the craft of filmmaking and showcasing horror than more what it is subjugated to. I feel like this movie definitely has a love for all horror. While that should be obvious with the other X entries, I feel like there is like a more of like, I don't know, like a rekindling, I guess, like a showcasing that it's more than what it is. Yes, schlock is great, but also horror can give us something more if you put that passion there, and that was very much appreciated. Lastly, the major characters we have are Kevin Bacon, as I mentioned before, and the man can just rock sleazy douche perfectly, and he does it damn well here. Other actors include Bobby Cannavale, Michelle Monaghan, Halsey, Lily Collins, Moses Sumney, and Simon Prast. All have smaller roles, but all are pretty brilliant with what roles they are given. The music is fantastic. Tyler Bates' score is typical synth to reflect the 80s, and while it is a bit of a cliche now with 80s homages that seem to be, keep coming out, it works, and it's great, so I'm not complaining. Obviously, it's overshadowed by the pop hit soundtrack, which I was loving too. I think the aesthetic is what makes me like this more than X. Is it over-exaggerated? Yes, but I'm a good sucker for an 80s aesthetic when done right, and I think it was definitely done right here. 80s sleaze covering LA with its grime is just perfect. It's paced very well, and I will agree the third act kind of drops the ball, but I still heavily enjoyed it. It's a very fun climax. I like the use of the VHS tapes for transitions, dream sequences, and flashbacks. Again, added to the aesthetic that I liked. The gore was also fantastic. It looked real but exaggerated. I don't mind cartoony gore, i.e., those Hammer films that Elizabeth name dropped, but when it's so fucking fake and cheap looking, it can take me out of the film. Terrifier 2, I'm looking at you. But here, it was wonderful. Used sparingly throughout the film, so when it does show up, it feels like all the more of a reward. The story I felt it the story I felt had a bit to be desired, but I liked how it didn't totally fall into the typical slasher cliches. I think we all kind of expected that it would, but personally, I don't think it did. It felt more like films like The Stepfather, where it was stuck in a time of slashers, but dared to do something different, be more of a character piece. And that's exactly what this is. It's about MaXXXine. It's all about her. It's a character piece. Everything else falls to the wayside. The film that's being filmed within the film, the other characters, everything. It's pure and unadulterated MaXXXine who spits in the face of these cliches. I also liked how it was almost like the consequences of the final girl, how throughout the film, the past is catching up with her with what happened in 1979. There are a lot of slasher films where the final girl just kind of walks away from the massacre and that's it because there's no more threat. So what's the point? But this kind of starts out like, well, this is what would happen. It does abandon that idea later on in the film, which is unfortunate, but I think the theme was still there and I still liked it. And I also liked how horror films were treated, as I mentioned before, with some kind of respect, mainly from Debicki's character. How they can mean more and be more if people just gave the genre a chance. I like the simplicity of it, but there is also still the idea it means more than just what is happening on screen. I know people said it falls apart in the third act, but I still thought the climax was extremely fun and worthwhile. Plus, it's supposed to be a throwback to those 80s movies. It wasn't going to be some over the top and over exaggerated blood fest. But what it was, it worked. I will say the biggest negative is that it feels like something is missing. I don't know what. Maybe there was something more that could have been said or done to make it a bit tighter of a film, but outside of that, I couldn't really think of anything. It was a damn good film. That is yet another great entry in this series, and I'm excited for what Ty West has in store for the series because he did, in fact, confirm a fourth film is coming out. But with that, I give the film an 8.5 out of 10. Devin.
All right, let's do this. Pull up my thing. I am doing a part written review, also part winging it, just because fucking writer's block kicked in again. But Ty West's X trilogy surprised the hell out of me. I thought, even though while I did feel X was a bit slow and a little unintentionally funny at times, I still think it's a damn good horror movie, and it's a great homage to 70s exploitation. And Pearl, I absolutely adored that movie. It was a perfect horror movie, excellent character study, and it was one of my favorite movies of 2022. I believe it was number 8 on my list. So I was beyond excited for MaXXXine. In fact, this was in my top 5 of most anticipated movies of the year. I couldn't wait to see it, and on Wednesday, I had the opportunity to see the movie early with a packed crowd. Like, holy shit. After seeing it, I will admit, while I find it to be the weakest in the trilogy, I still like it, and I was not disappointed. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Mia motherfucking Goth. Is there anything this talented woman can't do? She's great in everything she's great in everything I've seen her in, and this trilogy absolutely showcases her talents. Well, obviously her best performance to me will always be in Pearl, especially with that fucking monologue alone. Like, goddamn. She nails it as Maxine Minx. Like, she is the star of this movie, first and foremost. She's not sidelined at all. She's the focused, and that's perfect. I really liked I liked her her arc, like kind of seeing like how she handled the events of X, like she is dealing with some PTSD. Like I loved when the person was doing like the what do you call, like the model or the cast of her face, and she's having flashbacks to the massacre, and she's just having a fucking panic attack under all of that wax, and it's just slowly melting off of, and it's just melting off of her. Like that was such a great scene. I loved when she was walking around the psycho house and she saw the elderly Pearl in the window, and I love how like she's not like scared of anybody. Like she doesn't take shit from anybody. Like she is not a victim. She is a survivor first and foremost. From putting a mugger on the ground and smashing his fucking balls to crushing Kevin Bacon in a fucking car in a fucking junkyard on the car crusher, that thing. Like she ain't taking shit from no man. But the characters, while there isn't a lot of them are still memorable. I liked her friend who worked at the video store. I really loved kind of the pretentious filmmaker, director. I thought she was really funny. Kevin Bacon, while I don't really know what the point of him was. He was an entertaining sleazeball. The gore and the kills, they're fucking awesome. I mean, that's what you can expect from these movies. Some gnarly fucking kills. Especially what happens to the to her friend when he's alone in the video store. That was fucking gnarly. I loved the 80s score. I loved the aesthetic. I loved how it looked. I loved how like with the other movies, like this is a love letter to cinema, like exploitation horror cinema done correctly. Like I said, I am kind of winging it. And I'm glad in a way that MaXXXine got a happy ending. Because a worry I had with this movie was it was going to be like a cycle where she was going to slowly become more homicidal. Like, she's the killer. Like, she's becoming like Pearl. You know, like the cycle of trauma keeps going. I'm glad they didn't do that. You know, just after all the shit that she went through, she broke the cycle. She deserves her happy ending. When it comes to my issues, I did feel the story was a little all over the place. You know, from MaXXXine dealing with the trauma after the X massacre, to the private detective stalking her, to bringing up the Night Stalker, you know, Richard Ramirez, which, by the way, I'm kind of disappointed with how they did that. I don't know. I would have liked to see MaXXXine fight Richard Ramirez. And, you know, especially since, you know, I'm a sucker for, like, reading about true crime. You know, to MaXXXine filming the movie. Like, it was a little all over the place, and it wasn't really super duper focused at times. And I found the third act to be a little underwhelming. I felt the ending went on for a little too long. And the reveal of the killer, while not a bad twist, was way too obvious. Like, I had a feeling her dad was going to be the killer. and his motive for killing was kind of lame. Jesus. But in conclusion, despite some of its flaws, I still really liked MaXXXine. It didn't disappoint. If Ty West announces a fourth movie, I'm curious what he does next. Bring it on. I'm ready for it. He delivers once again with memorable characters, great gore, an awesome aesthetic, and Mia Goth kicking ass once again. I'm glad I can say this is the good movie I saw early this week. Unlike yesterday when I saw the very mediocre and boring Fly Me to the Moon. And I give this movie a very high 8 out of 10.
All right then. So, you know what? Was not able to write a review for this or the next one we're going to talk about. So fuck it, I'm going to wing it. So, MaXXXine. When it comes to the X movies, I enjoy X, and Pearl I think is even better. So I love Pearl. When it comes to MaXXXine, I was excited for this one, seeing where it was going to go. I went to see it with my fellow man Kitchen-A-Cop Whiskey J. I went to see it yesterday with him, and what I think about it, I thought it was awesome. Not better than Pearl, in my opinion, but I would probably put it maybe above X. So even though I still like X, I would probably say that this was a little bit better than X for me. First of all, Mia Goth, she steals every scene she gets. Every scene. She is such a badass. She just takes no shit. She pretty much steals every scene she gets, and she glorifies it. So I love and the other characters I do like. I'm glad that Giancarlo Esposito isn't pretty much put into the typical villain that he usually is in most of the projects he's in, So I like how they did with him. So he was awesome. He's awesome. Kevin Bacon, I loved his portrayal as the sleazeball douchebag character. He was really awesome. The kills were really intense. I especially like what these guys have said. The one where MaXXXine gets trapped in an alley. She get a guy who's trying to get up behind her. She pulls out a gun, tell him to take off all of his clothes, get on the floor, and then she just crushes his balls. Just crushes them. It was like, oof. That was a lot of fun. The villain, yeah, I will agree. The villain on who it was a bit obvious, I'll admit. And I feel like the ending probably could have been cut a little bit shorter, maybe. But I mean, those are like the only things I could think of. I mean, like I said, I'm just winging it right now, so I don't have like a lengthy 10-minute speech about it. So, but I mean, it's overall, it is such an awesome movie. Like I said, I would still say that Pearl was better than this. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, I love the 80s look of it. So I told Mark about this. This feels like an 80s movie released in 2024. Like from the cinematography, the grainy feel, the soundtrack, it honestly looks like something that would have come out in the 80s at that time. And I love the look of it. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say for it. I know my review's a little short and a little disorganized, but this is what happens when you wing it. So, but anyway, it's an awesome film. despite my issues with the third act and the twist villain, I'd still recommend this movie. So my score is an 8 out of 10.
All right. I'm sure, like everyone, we look in the face of Ty West and say, what the hell are you doing in Hollywood? Until X came out. Like everyone, I was expecting absolute dick from X when the trailers are coming out. Because, who liked Ty West at that point? But it was such an awesome flick, such an awesome throwback, and Pearl was in the same vein. So, I don't remember where this movie was on my list, but I do know that it was my most anticipated horror film of the year. And it delivered. While not my favorite of the trilogy, it's either second or third. I do think it was every bit as effective with the throwback, the character study, and the gore as the other two films. Mia Goth owns this role, and at this point, I would put her on the same pedestal as Jamie Lee, Sigourney Weaver, and among all the great final girls. I think she's reached that status. I have to say I was a bit disappointed with the carnage, except for the one scene. I feel like we could have used more carnage, but the kills that we did get were still good. And the final reveal at the end, while I didn't see it coming, when I was able to think about it more, I actually do like how they bring it all back from the first film. So, oh, and I gotta bring up one more thing before my grade. While I wasn't totally correct about one of my theories for this film, I was still sort of right. Because MaXXXine was not all morally fair. And some of the things she did, while not fully actually mainly becoming a killer, did still remind me of this guy. Enough said. But I still feel like they wrote her well enough to still fully keep her the protagonist of the story. And as far as a fourth film, it leaves this franchise in an interesting place to where I could see them doing another one. Maybe the next one could be a 90s throwback. But character-wise and story-wise is where I'm like, is there anything more they can do? I'm open to seeing it because, hell, he's knocked it out of the park 3 times so far. So I will totally be on board to see another one depending on what the story is. So all around, I loved MaXXXine. Again, it was my most anticipated horror film of the year, and it did not disappoint. Great character study, good enough carnage, and a pretty kick-ass ending that throws back to the first film. Brings it all around. So I'll give this a 9 out of 10.
Mark, are you there? Hello. I don't think he is.
Mark.
He's probably still taking a shower.
I'm here.
So-
Shut the fuck
okay.
up. God damn
Okay.
it.
Well, I wasn't sure. You weren't saying
We did-
anything. Sorry.
Exactly.
God damn it. Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear that shit. Anyway. Oh, God damn it. Shit. Okay. We're reviewing what's it called first? MaXXXine first. Oh, shut the fuck no, Letterboxd. I don't want to support you by disabling ad block. Fuck off. Jesus Christ. Anyway, MaXXXine. Fucking loved it. Jesus Christ. There's a part in the film, key part of the film where Elizabeth Debicki's character, Elizabeth Bender, the tough, hard-nosed director, tells Mia Goss, MaXXXine Minx, this is the defining role in your career. Whatever's going on in your life that's interfering with this picture, squash it. And MaXXXine responds very simply, plainly, and flatly, I intend to. And boy, does she. Unsurprisingly, Mia Goth slays in this picture, just as she did in the previous 2 films in this series, X and Pearl. Ty West has really made his mark with these films. After surviving the 1979 massacre at the Texas farmhouse in the film X, appropriately in the film referred to as the Texas Porn Star Massacre, MaXXXine Minx has achieved success as a porn star in Hollywood. Now, however, in 1985, she seeks to cross over to regular films to fulfill her dreams and finally become a big star. She lands an important role in a big-time horror film, The Puritan 2, but a mysterious figure from her past seeks retribution. MaXXXine must deal with this so she can move on and achieve superstardom. My favorite thing about these films, aside from the extremely lovely and talented Mia Goth, that is the way Ty West gives each of these films its own unique flavor based on the setting, from the cinematography to the music to the themes. X, set in rural Texas, adopts the style of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The next film, Pearl, a prequel set 61 years prior, takes inspiration from Golden Age Hollywood in gorgeous Technicolor. MaXXXine continues that tradition, this time with the look and feel of 80s neo-noir films like Blue Velvet, an appropriate choice for the 1985 setting. Film clips from the time period provide context, reminding the viewers that this was the time of the infamous Satanic Panic, and that when the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, was actively terrorizing Los Angeles. This provides context for the film, and accordingly, the plot feels more like a mystery than the previous two films, with some misdirection, detectives, etc. Even Giancarlo Esposito as Mia's slick lawyer, Teddy Knight Esquire, gets into the act with a hairpiece straight out of Don King's signature collection. These films do a great job engrossing you in the time period, and MaXXXine continues that tradition. The acting is solid all around, with Mia Goth and Giancarlo Esposito as the standouts. Mia is fantastic as always, and Giancarlo takes on a rather unusual role for him, which was refreshing to see for once. He doesn't always have to be the Lex Luthor-esque character. Elizabeth Debicki is great in a limited but important role as the no-nonsense director, Elizabeth Bender. She makes it clear to MaXXXine that no excuses will be allowed, giving her the motivation she needs to handle her business and deal with her dark past. In other words, her stardom depends on this. Just as in the last one, MaXXXine is willing to do anything, whatever it takes, to achieve superstar status. And this is the dark side of Mia that we see. This is one of the things I love about these films, that we see her dark side. She is willing to go to those dark places to achieve superstardom. If it means murder, then hell with it. That's what she has to do. The twist was not that much of a surprise, but it doesn't really detract from the film. In fact, the big finale is exciting and satisfying. It probably could have ended a bit sooner than it did, but again, this is just nitpicking at this point. And besides, as far as the finale goes, the ending, I thought it very brilliantly parodied and satirized the satanic panic of the period. I very clearly remember parents of this time period talking just in casual conversation about how everyone from the music industry to Hollywood to Dungeons and Dragons to heavy metal music were all in Satan's pocket trying to corrupt your kids. Well, as a good friend of Satan, I can tell you that's a lie. That's not true. Satan's going after everyone, dumbass. Anyway, but that was what worked about the film to me, about the ending to me. It was a perfect way to satirize the satanic panic of the time period. The twist, so perhaps the biggest vote of confidence about this film comes from my daughter, no fan of horror films, who really actually loved this one. At the end of the day, this is a fantastic way to end the series. Mia achieves her, Mia Goth, that is, namely MaXXXine, achieves her dreams and becomes a superstar. Kudos to Ty West for this remarkable achievement, one of my favorite horror series in quite a while. We shall watch your career with great interest. And my rating is a very strong 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, I'm going to say Rome's review. He couldn't join us for today, but I will read his review. All right, MaXXXine lives up to most of my expectations. This was one of my most anticipated films of 2024. I'll start with what's great about MaXXXine, starting with Ty West's dedication to making MaXXXine look like something filmed in the 80s that was polished. The aesthetic, the style, the tone, and the 80s of the 80s is all there. MaXXXine has one of the best soundtracks of this year. Music plays an important role in making audiences feel like they're in the 80s again. The music does a great job capturing 1985 in Hollywood and helps enhance the interest of audiences. Mia Goth brings another great performance like she did in X and from Pearl. If you have watched the previous films, you should know she is going to bring a dedicated performance as Maxine Minx. This is a full-on Maxine story that revolves around her and what she's willing to do to become a famous movie star. Maxine has chosen not to make herself ever become a victim again after she survives her traumatic experience with X. There are two or three great scenes in the film that establish that Maxine will never make herself a victim again. The good in the film was the supporting cast of Kevin Bacon, Giancarlo Esposito, Elizabeth Debicki, Halsey, Michelle Monaghan, and Bobby Cannavale. Of the supporting cast, I would say Giancarlo Esposito and Kevin Bacon were the two best performances from the supporting cast. I liked some of the nods that I was able to recognize to some of the slasher films from the 80s. The bad from Maxine was how the story played itself extremely safe and did not try to blend X and Pearl. I did not feel any suspenseful moments or if the stakes were high. The reveal of the killer might be a letdown to some of the audiences. As for the role the Night Stalker plays in the movie, that too is a letdown. Despite some negatives, I had a great time watching MaXXXine, as most of my expectations were met. If you haven't watched X and Pearl, it is important to watch those two films before MaXXXine. MaXXXine is worth watching in theaters, especially how good the 80s look is in the film. I did not feel the runtime of the film since it's short like an 80s movie. And with that, he gives it a 9 out of 10. Although I will say it's a tad bit longer, because usually 80s movies go from like 95 minutes. It's a little longer. It was about 104 minutes. So, that's just me being a stickler for that sort of thing. And my God, 4th of July was 2 fucking days ago. Can you stop lighting fucking fireworks in my neighborhood and scaring my goddamn doggo? Go fucking fuck yourselves, guys. It was 2 days ago. I understand. I love America too, but like, goddamn, stop scaring my dog. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway,
I was gonna say they're fighting the fireworks outside right now.
Yeah,
outside your.
Don't you love America, John? What's wrong with you?
I love America.
America.
Everybody else here, I love America. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, enough with these fireworks. You're scaring my dog. Just saying. Anyway.
That was Karen.
That was. I wanted to say that in my review, but I forgot to add that in. Mark, it was like satanic panic. That was the thing I loved about this. I'm glad you stated that, because that was something I needed to mention. I love how they really went into that as well, and I liked. I understand that it did feel like MaXXXine had a lot of those ideas, but none of them were like it was very loose. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I wish it was a bit tighter. They could have chopped some stuff out, but I will say, out of the ideas that were loose, I think all of them were executed very well. It's just that I wish the script and the story was a little bit tighter. That's all. It was just a little bit tighter, and it would have been perfect.
I've seen it very quickly paced. I mean,
it was very well paced. I'm just saying, I wish the writing was
I probably could have stood, maybe extended just a little bit to develop the story a bit more. So,
yeah. I don't think it should have been afraid of a longer running time. Yeah. I would say maybe make it like hour 50 minutes, maybe hour 55, because I feel like it should have been,
maybe a little more misdirection in there too.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know where the series could go from here, aside from the fact that throwback-wise, another film could throwback the 90s possibly, but with the characters and the story and
honestly, I just see this as like just 3 movies and all.
Ty West did confirm a 4th movie. He said he's writing it now.
Oh shit!
So it's gonna. Well, to be fair, it could be canceled. So who knows? But he did say he's writing it. So I could just imagine him just making another movie, and it's like very loosely connected to MaXXXine, because I can't really see where her story would go from here. So
she's achieved everything she's wanted to.
Honestly, it's kind of funny when we think of Ty West, because because like before he was making shit films, and then he made these,
Yeah.
or he made shit films before, and then he makes a really awesome trilogy, which is kind of like how Shyamalan was with the Unbreakable movies. You know what I mean?
Shyamalan
Although to be fair,
overall is just
Unbreakable
more-
was very. It was very.
But
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It just.
you get what I
I
mean.
will say though, M. Night Shyamalan definitely has more good movies than Ty West does. Because from what
and
I've heard,
the thing is that Shyamalan all around is just more inconsistent. Good movie one time, then a bad movie the next. Whereas Ty West has just been nothing but shit for his entire
yeah, but I'm
career.
saying like, but I'm
his past couple of films, he's been pretty good. He seemed to be on a hot streak.
well, I mean, I heard Old was shit, so
It was.
not good.
It was crap.
Good concept, but terrible execution.
That's
Like,
kind of what
I
you're going
was-
to get. Yeah, that's kind of what you're going to get though when you're watching. When you have somebody with a lot of ideas like that, some of them are going to be crap, and some of them are going to be brilliant. So I mean,
yeah, I'm really
I gotta
excited
admit,
for Trap, though. I'm excited for Josh Hartnett for what he has in store for that film.
I gotta be honest though, like
but it felt
What?
like
Yeah.
watching, like I was saying to Rob, it felt like watching an old '80s B movie.
That's exactly what I said in my review, Mark. It's like
Yeah.
I told you while we were leaving the theater, I was like, this is an 80s movie in
yeah, we were
2024.
saying that. We were talking about that. Yeah, it does.
And no offense, Rob, I believe Mark the most because he can actually remember the 80s. You were only alive for 2 years of the 80s. So I
Pretty
would
much.
say that was, I believe, Mark the most because he actually remembers watching them while living in the 80s. So that means a lot because
body double and all that.
I
shit.
mean,
no, that's what Ty West said was one of the inspirations for the film was body double.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it feels like Brian De Palma had like a heavy hand in this movie.
But I mean, even Kaylee noticed it, and Kaylee was born 2001. She said, like,
I know,
color
'cause
palette
there
and
are
everything.
some films that feel like it, but also don't at the
Yeah.
same time. Like Stranger
Yeah.
Things, after a certain point, just feels a little bit too accessible, like a little bit
I mean,
too
the
much
early
access.
seasons, especially, I know the first season felt eerily like the '80s. Dear God, first
Yeah.
couple.
No, the holdovers felt like a 70s movie to me.
it did.
Yeah.
Oh
Most
yeah.
definitely.
and I gotta
absolutely.
be honest though, I'm sort of nervous with Ty West though, because if he goes on to do any other projects, will it be dog shit again? Like, or does
I'm
has he
on it.
found his
I
niche?
remember mentioning this to John, and I'm kind of wondering if some of those pre-X movies that he did that were shit were just like manufactured scripts that the studio gave him and told him to direct.
No, he was
'Cause that's what
very. He was very. I believe he wrote all of his films.
Oh,
He
really?
was very like he was very much like an artsy, filmmaker. Like
Yeah, he
did
wrote House of the Devil.
yeah.
Can we admit, guys, that Mia Goth really crushed it in this film?
Mhm.
Oh, sure did.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Mark. I had to remove you for that dad joke. I wasn't gonna play the clip because it wasn't that bad, but still, for that
Worth
fucking
it.
dad joke, I had to. I'm
Well,
sorry,
what
I
I'm
had
saying
to.
is-
I do that shit all the time.
Worth it.
I
I
had
don't
to.
care. It's all
I just
right.
I just remember like Mark and I when that scene came up and Mark and I were watching, we were like, "Oh shit!"
And I
It hurts
and I
to
was-
watch.
God.
And I was saying this to Devin.
Oh, I
I don't
was
know
thinking of
I don't
the-
know who else was here
Oh my
when I
God.
mentioned that. It definitely reminded me of the Yellow Bastard story
From Sin City, yes.
Oh
I
yeah.
heard the black guy who was sitting right down from us, and he went off with that. It's like, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh shit!
Every
What I
time,
mean though is
and everyone
that-
was laughing.
what I'm nervous about though is has Ty West actually redeemed himself, or will this trilogy just be his one-trick pony?
I don't know. I'm curious to see what he has next. I want to believe he got that second chance and is like riding that for the time being. Like now he's just like doing good stuff now.
Because, dude,
But-
because I'll say this to Ty West, if you found your niche, I will take back every bad thing I've ever said about you. I still think your earlier films are dog shit, but dude, if we're gonna get this quality from you from now on, I'll anticipate every film
Did-
you
did
make
anyone-
from now on.
Did anyone even see his pre-X movies before?
Nope.
I've seen bits and pieces of House of the Devil and the Innkeepers, but I never watched
House of the
them
Devil and Innkeepers were boring as shit. Cabin Fever
and I'm
2
not, and I sure as shit ain't watching Cabin Fever 2.
Cabin Fever
I've never
2
watched any.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Cabin Fever 2 is disgusting, mean-spirited, and the most uncomfortable experience I've ever had watching a movie for all the wrong reasons. It is,
and I've never even heard of The Roost or Trigger Man since
there was a scene in this movie where there's this chick is pregnant and it shows she's infected because these movies about viruses, and it shows all the blood and stuff coming out of her cooch and all that. There's stuff like that in this movie that is just gross and uncomfortable.
Yeah, and not in a good way.
Also, like, if they were to do a fourth movie, like, I'm assuming it would. I wonder if they would have MaXXXine now be like, now that she had her claim to fame, she's now an aging star looking for her comeback.
Yeah, like they go full on Sunset Boulevard or What Happened to Baby Jane.
Oh yeah,
I could see them doing that. That could be a really good. But the thing is, you got to tread that lightly so it doesn't become another like X where it's like an aging Pearl. I would hope that they don't try to do that, but I could see that working. Just try to differentiate it is all.
Yeah. I think to me, like I said earlier, her best performance will always be in Pearl. Like the monologue alone.
Yeah, she should have been nominated, but the Academy doesn't like good movies. I mean horror movies, so you know.
Yeah. Well,
unless you're The Exorcist or Silence of the Lambs or Get Out.
My thing is, I mean, I would. Part of me would love to see a fourth film, maybe set in the 90s, when maybe about. I mean, but I don't know what it could be about because she's already achieved her dream. She's gotten superstardom, unless they want to go with sort of an All About Eve type story where she's older now. Maybe she's in her 40s, it's set in the 90s, and she's being challenged by some new up-and-comer, some hungry new up-and-comer who was just like she was. You know?
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of aesthetic you can go for in the 90s. I mean, yeah.
The one thing I don't want them to do, though, is make her full-on killer.
Yeah, that was what I was worried about with this movie, and I'm glad they didn't go that route, because I think that would have ruined her arc.
Because there are scenes in this movie where, like when she killed Kevin Bacon, there were a couple scenes where it reminded me of
fuck off.
I mean it as a compliment, though, because I think they tread it very lightly, though, in a good way.
I guess.
But yeah, I loved the gore in this. I thought it was used very sparingly. Because it's like when you have too much gore, sometimes it can get a little bit like, unless it's like a Sam Raimi movie or a Peter Jackson movie, it like sometimes it just becomes like an onslaught and it just becomes too much, just barreling on the senses, and it just and then it kind of becomes boring after a while. Like it's just okay. Here's another scene. Here's another scene. Here's another scene. Here's another scene. But the fact that it was very specific in terms of certain scenes, I thought that worked very well. I also like during the ball busting scene, she's like, "Watch it, Buster," and he's fucking dressed like Buster Keaton. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that was cute. I'm like, I see what you did there.
Yeah, dude, when that happened, I was like,
I thought Simon Prass did a really good job. Like he did everything like you were supposed to do with that kind of role. So good for him. But yeah, I liked how it was essentially the consequence, not the kind of the consequences. Like what I kind of wished it leaned in to more a little bit was like the police like actually being after her, because like, you know how in most slashers, like once the killer is, well, quote unquote dead, that the final girl just walks off and that's it. But it's like, wouldn't there be like major police they would probably try to look for you, and they would probably try to find you and all that shit. So it's like, interesting. And that's what they were kind of doing, like with the PI, but then it kind of, it was just her dad, like trying to find her and that kind of thing. Not like that was bad. It's just like, I feel like they would have been an interesting case of like like almost as if like the consequences of like what would actually happen if like a final girl escaped, but then she's like pinned with the murders or something because like her DNA is everywhere and like all the shit happened. So that could have been an interesting idea as well. But this movie was packed to the brim. So
you're saying it would have been like the alternate ending of Get Out, where it ends with him being arrested?
No, because I'm talking about an entire movie that's like like the afterthought of a massacre, you know, like the things that the horror movie doesn't show you, you know.
I think I get what you're saying, the trauma and everything. Trauma.
Yeah, because there's a great book I have. It's on my chest. It's called The Final Girls Support Group, where it's a bunch of final girls that survive a massacre that start a support group for each other. I haven't read it yet, but my sister gave it to me, and that it's like there's like kind of that as well. Then there's this other movie, I forgot the name of it, but it's about a girl who got possessed, and then the demon got exorcised, and then now the movie is about how she's like living now with like post exorcism. So I forget what that movie was called, but I've heard it was pretty good. But yeah, like stuff like that.
Another movie like that was Room with Brie Larson. You know, she was kidnapped and held hostage for years, and then the rest of the movie follows her life after her kidnapper was finally arrested.
Yeah.
You know, with her and her son go back to the outside world again and all the struggles that come from it. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that could be
yeah. But I don't know. I mean, this kind of like it just feels like I mean the story is complete now. Unless you want to go through her downfall in the next one. I mean, which would be kind of sad.
Yeah, I like that she got her happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was glad that and I was like, again, another subversion that a lot of people seem to forget about this movie. I'm like, did nobody fucking actually watch the movie?
Exactly.
Where it was like, oh, this movie doesn't have any subversions. It's like, did you fucking watch the movie?
Serious.
Like it's like, oh, letting the killer get away or get arrested. No, she fucking shoots that motherfucker in the head.
Exactly.
Or like how with the famous scene with the mugger, how she was she was pretending to get away, oh, I need to get away, but it's like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm like, fucking suck my fucking Glock, you cocksucker. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure you never fucking do this shit again. Splat. And it's like, and how it kind of, as Mark, as you were saying, it's a mystery. It's not really a slasher movie. It's more of a mystery, and how it doesn't fall into what we expected. We expected a slasher movie takes place in the 80s, slasher movie, but it's a character piece. It's really about her and the mystery surrounding all of this.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, it doesn't fall into those same conventions. It's like, oh, the PI is gonna or the scene with the PI, how they were oh, at the last second they're gonna let him live because, oh, this is wrong. No, fuck that shit. That motherfucker's getting crushed and he's gonna become a pool of blood. Fuck you. Fuck all your bullshit. There were no half measures with this movie, like it is with normal slasher movies. No, they went full measures, and that's not just a reference to make Breaking Bad with Giancarlo Esposito, but I'm just saying they went full measures, because the whole thing with half measures, you got to have those tropes, have that movie, but they didn't go half measure here. They went full measure, which is against the slasher tropes. Anyway, sorry, Mark, what are you going to say?
No, you're fine. I was just going to say another thing. I don't know if we pointed out is that there's arguably here a tie to Pearl as well, because remember, how her parents were absolutely not supportive of her trying to be an actress, and here, her father is absolutely not supportive,
No,
to say the
not at
least,
all.
of her being an actress. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's funny though, because
And-
I actually think the ball busting scene is brutal than all the gore in a violent nature.
Oh yeah, because we all feel it. We're
Yeah.
all guys. We're like, oh, all of us
Yeah.
felt that scene. All of us felt that scene. I was like, oh,
That
That's like Eddie. That's in general. Like we see general like mutilation in a movie, it's gonna fucking hurt.
and that they showed there. Your God, they showed his crushed balls and penis too. Like holy shit!
Ugh.
I mean that and the crushing scene, because that is obviously that would be the worst way to go for me, because I mean I've had two of my fingers on my two of my fingers on my left hand crushed. My two middle fingers right there crushed, and it hurt like a motherfucker.
Yeah, I got my middle finger. I'm not flipping you guys off, but I got my middle finger caught in a door, and that motherfucker was purple. And then I also banged my toe really bad in a subway station. Like I was going through one of those big revolving doors, not just the regular turnstiles. And I misstepped and I hit my fucking foot really hard into the metal bar. And eventually my toenail came off. So that was fun.
Yeah.
The
details came off. They had to sew that on.
I must be superhuman then, because years ago I broke a bone right along here and it didn't hurt once. I crashed my bike, got my arm and my knuckle all scarred up. Didn't hurt.
That is there might be, you might have a nerve ending issue, because there are people that like can put their hand on a hot stove and just not feel it. That's like I don't know what the disorder is, but that's like something wrong with your nerve endings.
I know when I was 6 or 7, I got shot in the eye with a Nerf dart gun.
Yeah,
I know when I was,
and it had the Velcro on the end.
I know when I was like, according to my parents, when I was 2, I pretty much, like, I was playing outside and I tripped over, and then a big rock just stabbed right through my my eyebrow, and I had to get stitches over it. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I think this movie does a lot right. There are some shortcomings, but I think it does do a lot. I just don't get some of the, like, obviously if you don't like the movie, that's fine. It's just like there's a lot of things where it's like where people have negatives where it's just like I feel like if you just watch the movie, you would not have those negatives. Yeah. Again, it's fine if you do. Like some people are just like it's too loose. It's like we couldn't get into it. I didn't like the aesthetic, all that stuff. That's fine. It's just I feel like there's some negatives where it's like, just watch the movie again. Like maybe you'll figure it out.
My final statement on it is it delivered everything I could have possibly wanted from it. And like I said, it leaves them in an interesting place, because if they wanted another one, I could see where they could go as far as the throwback. But I'm not saying that he couldn't pull it off of trying to continue the characters, but I'd be fine either way. If he ends it here, great. But if he wants to do another one, I'll give it a shot, because he ain't screwed up yet.
Yeah. I would like to see just maybe another movie. Like I would love to see another time period movie, because we've gotten the 1910s. I think it was the 1910s.
Yeah, 1910s, because it was World War I.
Yeah, 1910, and then there was also the Spanish flu, I think.
Spanish flu.
1910s, 1970s, 1980s. I would say you in between the 1910s and the 70s, you could do a lot of stuff in between there. I would love to see maybe like a World War II movie. That could be kind of cool, or maybe even a World War I movie, and like one of the characters, like he's a side character. It's Howard, Pearl's husband, but it's mainly about this other guy. Like maybe he has like shell shock and he has like hallucinations and shit, and he's like seeing things that aren't there. And like it turns out like maybe his friend is Howard, and like there's like something along with that. That could be something that's really cool, because that would be different, but it would bring like more horror stuff into there. So yeah, I think you could go a lot of but I would love to see another time period movie, but like further back. I don't want to see 90s and 2000s, 2010s. I just feel there's too much 90s stuff nowadays. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. But yeah, I think MaXXXine did a lot right, and I was very happy that I watched it, and I think it is a good first installment in our LA Bacon-A-Thon.
Unfortunately, I finished my bacon.
That's okay. You have a one-up on all of us. You got to eat bacon.
You sure it's not the bacon from the car crushing scene, Devin?
Ew.
Ew.
If that, I don't know why Kevin Bacon would taste like maple.
Ew. Anyway, so
MaXXXine's awesome.
MaXXXine is
Go
awesome.
see
Go
it.
watch
Another strong entry.
Go support your local theater.
Support your
Watch
theaters.
MaXXXine.
Not Despicable Me 4.
Just don't go see Despicable Me 4. Please.
Fuck that franchise. That and The Simpsons, two franchises about yellow freaks that don't have the common decency.
Zach hates yellow people.
And don't watch Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, watch
I heard it was
MaXXXine.
horrible.
Watch
Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inside Out 2. Yeah, watch that too. Anyway,
and watch what we're about to talk about.
And watch what we're about to talk about, which is, in fact, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Oh my god, I said almost a Beverly Hills Cop 2. Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Epic fail.
Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Why not call it 4? We don't know, because people hate you. Anyway.
I guess they're paying homage to Top Gun Maverick.
Maybe. Anyway. Beverly Hills Cop 4, a.k.a. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. We've missed you, Axel. A great return to form for Eddie Murphy. He fits back into the role of Axel Foley like a glove, and the development hell of this movie for a decade and a half was worth it. It had a proper mix of modern ideas, but keeping its roots. I would say it's probably the best sequel out of all of them. Maybe as good as 2, but doesn't reach the original, obviously. It was great seeing Reinhold, Ashton, Pinchot, and Reiser again. Gordon Levitt is great as always. Bacon always plays a great asshole, as we've seen evident with MaXXXine. And Taylor Page was a little wooden at points, but overall still very good. Action was fantastic. Great soundtrack, but I wasn't a fan of the Lil Nas X remix of the classic Axel F theme. Loved all the old songs from the other films as well. Guzman in a smaller role was good as well. It doesn't quite reach, speaking of, Top Gun Maverick levels, but it's in that same vein of movies that actually respect the original classic, does similar things that made it work, but still incorporates some modern ideas so it's not totally lost on new viewers. The action is brilliant, the comedy is hysterical, and this entire film just felt like one big comforting hug. It's not the greatest, but it is satisfying as all hell. I wouldn't mind seeing another one, but with Eddie Murphy getting older, and considering this one took so damn long, I don't know if that would happen. But man, would I love to see it if it's as good as this. And with that, I give it an 8 out of 10.
All right. My review is going to be short because I don't really have a lot to say about this movie. But I like the first Beverly Hills Cop, but I don't consider it to be an 80s classic or my favorite 80s comedy like most people do. I haven't seen the other two sequels, so I don't know if I'm missing out on anything or not. I mainly watched this just because, we're doing our double feature review. And after seeing it, I thought it was a fun, charming sequel. Acting's very good. Eddie Murphy, he naturally slips back into the role of Axel Foley. He's just as hilarious and likable as he was in the first one. He had great chemistry with his daughter. The action scenes are a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny moments. However, the generic story, some cliches, and the very predictable reveal of the villain prevents this from being a Top Gun Maverick or a Cobra Kai. I also learned that this was in development hell for a long time, and I could tell. However, like I said, I had fun with it. If you're a fan of the original, this will be right up your alley. It's on Netflix. Watch it. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. again, I'm gonna wing it because I didn't write a review. So, uh, for Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. So, when it comes to the Beverly Hills Cop movies, I mean, before we decided to review this one, I didn't see the other one, so I pretty much watched all the Beverly Hills Cop movies in preparation. The first one was was awesome. Maybe not the best '80s comedy, but it's still a damn good one. So what can I say? It's still an awesome movie. The second one was not as good as the first one, but I still really enjoyed it. Third one, I don't think it's a bad movie or anything. It just gets kind of generic and been there, done that kind of thing, and it's just like and it was kind of forgettable too. So, and I'm pretty sure I just got myself Amazon for smidging that. But anyway, Axel F. I watched this on Netflix a few days ago, and while I wouldn't say it was as good as the first one, I would still say it was like on par with the second one. So Eddie Murphy does do a kick-ass job as always, and he does have a lot of funny moments too. So in this one, I like and I especially like the one thing about these movies is that I like the banter between him and Judge. Fuck, what was his last name? The guy who plays Rosewood. The guy who played Rosewood. I can't remember.
Judd Reinhold.
Yeah. I like the banter those and the chemistry between them. It was. I felt the daughter did get on my nerves. At times, I won't lie. So, she did get. That's one thing that did bog the movie for me a little bit. Was just the fact that she did get annoying at times, and of course you were going through some of the stuff we've seen before. But I mean, and I will say the action was awesome. I especially like the helicopter part. Especially the helicopter part. That was awesome. Yeah, I would say overall, I would say this was probably on par with the second one. It's an enjoyable movie. So I give it a 7.5 out of 10. So.
All right, I'm probably gonna have more to say than some of y'all, but I didn't specifically have any skeptical expectations for this. I heard that it had been in development hell for a long time, but I was willing to give it a shot because, like, so long as it's better than Coming to America, like, what the fuck was that dog shit? But per context, if it weren't for the Nutty Professor movies, Beverly Hills Cop, the whole franchise, would be my favorite thing that Eddie Murphy's ever done. It's certainly up there. But I do love the Nutty Professor movies more. But as is, these are fun flicks. And like Scream 3 over Scream 2, I enjoyed the third one of this series more than the second one. This one, though, I'd say it's certainly better than the second one, but not as much as the third one or the first one. It's kind of right there in the middle. But I still really liked it. Eddie Murphy fits right back into it like he had not skipped a day doing this role, and the action was fun. I thought the mix of putting in the nostalgic themes and the callbacks was done very well. The chemistry with him and Rosewood and Taggart, even though they don't have a whole lot of scenes together, their scenes together were great. And I do like that Taggart was back finally, since he wasn't in the third film, and that he had more of a role. That was cool. But all that aside, as much as I really enjoyed this film, that whole chunk of the movie with him and his daughter was the hardest to get through. It wasn't bad. It was still watchable because, we still had Eddie Murphy, but it reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Just nagging on the guy you're here to see. Now, I like Dial of Destiny, and I do think that Helena's character redeemed herself at a certain point, but similar to Dial of Destiny, it took Eddie Murphy's daughter too long to change. Like, for almost all of her screen time, she's just the wet blanket. I understand it for the beginning because obviously that's the setup. They were estranged, so they got to build that relationship back up. But there's a limit. Like, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she really kind of changed until Eddie Murphy took the bullet for her at the end. I think the rest of it was just nagging, nagging, nagging. But on the upside, I do appreciate that this didn't do what a lot of legacy sequels do, where the hero is washed up, miserable, and you know the tropes. He's still been doing this for all these 40 years, and he still has all the charm and the charisma. So it's nice to see that they didn't tear him down in that respect. So I'll give them credit for that. Would I want to see more? I'm down. So long as they give more screen time for him and Taggart and Rosewood, because honestly, I think we could have used more of that. And even bring Joseph Gordon-Levitt back. I do think that once he started teaming up with him is where the movie really picked up again. Because like the first half was really strong before he teamed up with his daughter, and then when him and Gordon-Levitt teamed up is when it picked up again. Again, the whole chunk of the film with his daughter wasn't horrible or anything. It's just if she just had that change a lot sooner, before the ending, I think you could have fixed some structural issues there in the middle. But as is, I still enjoyed it, and I believe I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. It's better than 2, but not as good as 1 or even 3 in my opinion. It's right there in the middle. So go see it.
Hello, and now finally to the only guy old enough to remember watching Beverly Hills Cop when it originally came out. God, what can I say about this film? I fucking love this film. There's a part in the film where, well, God damn it, where's my fucking review? And here we go. There's a part in the film where Judge Reinhold's character, Billy Rosewood, says, God, I missed you, Axel. And dear God, we missed you. Dear God, and how we missed you, Axel. And it's good to have you back. The heat is definitely on as Beverly Hills Cop Axel F picks up 30 years after the last film without skipping a beat. It's the same iconic soundtrack, the same lavish Beverly Hills, and the same wise-ass thrill-seeking cop Axel Foley running around with his old friend, with the same old friends, plus a few new ones, causing trouble and wreaking havoc in search of bad guys. After receiving a call from his old Beverly Hills buddy and fellow cop Billy, Axel heads out to Beverly Hills once again for more adventures. This time, however, the stakes is personal, as not only does Billy disappear, but his estranged daughter, a Beverly Hills lawyer who goes by the name of Jane Saunders, played by Taylor Page, has run afoul of powerful people for defending an accused cops killer. Captain K. Grant, Kevin Bacon, a corrupt cop extraordinaire, leads a gang of thugs and walks on both sides of the law, openly collaborating with the cartel. His old buddy, John Taggart, Axel's old buddy, John Taggart, played by John Ashton, of course, now chief of police, doesn't believe it because Grant is an old friend of his from the academy. Axel and his girlfriend's ex, Detective Bobby Abbott, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, find themselves wanted and pursued by Grant, his thugs, and the cops in a race to find Billy and prove Grant dirty before they are taken down. The film feels very much like old times, like seeing an old friend after many years apart. At the same time, with the actors noticeably older, the film takes this into account. Axel has lost a bit of his old touch, and he's no longer up to scamming his way in and out of Beverly Hills. There's one particularly funny scene where his daughter has to rescue him when he is sort of flailing, trying to scam his way into this one place. Taggart is chief in Beverly Hills, while Axel's old Detroit buddy, Jeffrey Friedman, played by Paul Reiser again, is a deputy chief in Detroit. Everyone seems to have moved on except Axel, who goes into his role as cop with the same reckless bravado as always. Even Bronson Pinchot's Surge is back, as fabulous as ever. The new characters brought to life by Taylor Page and Joseph Gordon-Levitt fit right in. Kevin Bacon's Grant challenges Axel on a new level because he too walks on both sides of the law. However, while Axel bends the law for the greater good, Grant only looks out for number one. It all feels very familiar, and that's a very good thing, but it adds just enough new things to keep it fresh. The strained relationship between Axel and his daughter, however, is the heart of this film. This was a major theme of Murphy's last Netflix 80s requel, Coming to America. The idea of an older father having trouble moving on and accepting that his daughter is his own woman. It's done better here than the last film, however, and Axel as an absentee parent actually makes sense given his sort of morally gray personality and complete lack of responsibility. It adds a bit of heart to the film, a bit simple perhaps, but well done, and still a nice touch nevertheless, amidst all the action and the wisecracks. At the end of the day, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F retains enough of the old while adding just enough of the new to make for a successful, thrilling experience. It truly feels like an old school Beverly Hills Cop film, updated slightly for the new, a worthy addition to an old beloved franchise. As my buddy John up there put it very succinctly, it feels like a big hug from an old friend. And that's exactly, I can think of no better way to put it. So my rating is a solid, very solid 7.5 out of 10. Tempted to say 8, but
you never gave me your ratings, so I just went off your Letterboxd reviews,
Yeah.
but you gave both 0.5, so I had to change it a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So finally we have Rome's review, who's probably the most positive out of all of us. To quote Billy Rosewood, Judge Reinhold, I missed you, Axel. I wasn't born when the first one came out, but when I did watch the first one with my dad, who loved these movies, it left a big impact on my love for action comedy movies. Beverly Hills Cop was one of the lead films that defined the 80s, especially the memorable theme song that will remind anyone of the 80s. Eddie Murphy does not miss a beat returning as Axel Foley, who is fun and funny and reminds everyone why he is such a beloved megastar. This is a fun film that is very well put together. This is a film that people want to see in movies, but we don't see movies like this anymore. I think Axel F will get some comparison to Top Gun Maverick because nostalgic is done right, with stakes feeling real and like Maverick. Axel doesn't want a desk job and wants to be out there with the action. With Axel, the stakes are his restrained relationship with his daughter Jane, who is played by Taylor Page. This mirrors Maverick's strained relationship with Goose's son. I love the little details, for example, the differences between the social class and how police operate in Detroit and Beverly Hills, which was an important detail in the first film. Another detail with how the police are viewed today and how they take on a lot of caution now instead of taking things head on, and Axel's response to that. That's another thing I wanted. That's a good point from Rome. A lot of the comedy with Eddie Murphy lands great, as audiences will be smiling and laughing throughout the film. It was nice to see John Ashton return as now Chief John Taggart, who dodged a bullet on not making an appearance in the third movie. I wasn't expecting Bronson Pinchot to return as Serge, but he is a core character, and the funny bit between Axel and Serge is almost a must-need in the franchise. If there were negatives, it's the pacing issue and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays Detective Beverly Hills Bobby, as Axel calls him. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character was a third wheel and was not needed at all and was a force at times. Overall, this is a must-watch blockbuster on Netflix for audiences who have never watched any of these movies. Go watch the first Beverly Hills Cop movie and part 2, then watch Axel F. And with that, he gives it a 5 out of 5, aka a 10 out of 10. He might have given it a 9.5 out of 10, but from what I can see on Letterboxd, gave it a 5 out of 5, so 10 out of 10 it is. So, I absolutely love this movie, and I think that's a good way of doing it. Like, it's a different way as to why the police don't take more action. It's more, the cautiousness now, because, like, there's the whole, like, anti-police, fuck the police kind of thing that a lot of like millennials and Gen Zers are kind of feeling right now. So I feel like that was a good like modern like twinge they put in there.
Yeah, they
And
put that in there. It made it.
I thought that was very good.
Made it a little
Where
more
would you guys say that this, as a legacy sequel, ranks among, say, would you say that it's up there with some of the all-time great legacy sequels like Maverick and Ghostbusters Afterlife and such?
I would say
I wouldn't put it that high.
I would put it up. I mean, it's in the good batch of Maverick,
Solid.
Cobra Kai,
Yeah.
Afterlife.
Yeah.
Those movies, it's definitely not, like fucking Scream 5 or
No.
what's another shut up, Zach. It's my stream.
Jurassic World Dominion.
Jurassic World
Yeah.
Dominion.
Any of the Jurassic World movies, all those.
Star Wars, any of the fucking new Star Wars movies, those are
Any of the
garbage.
sequels.
Yeah, they are.
So,
Except Rogue One. Rogue One is actually fucking good. That's
I meant the Skywalker
I
side
know it.
because that
I
has
know it.
legacy characters, but yeah.
I know it.
But yeah, I would say that
What is that sound?
I think it's Zach. Do you have a fan in the background, Zach?
yeah, it's they have a fan on. But yeah, I'd say that it's like not in the middle, but at the same time,
I would say it's like
it's a
central leaning towards like the good part.
Yeah.
yeah, like it's just a hair away from the all-time greats. Because the thing is, this could have been my second favorite of the bunch, but his daughter really was a pain to get.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't-
just found her.
No,
I found
you
her
guys,
annoying.
you guys just hate women. That's the thing. You guys just fucking hate women.
Despite me being engaged.
Nah, no,
Is that what you said?
I'm joking.
How did
No,
you
that's
become
just
like
internal.
this? What do you mean? Daring, beautiful, self-sufficient?
But yeah, I thought I thought this was very well done. I really liked it. It's just like it hit where it needed to hit. It got those. It knew its roots. It knew what it had to do. It knew like what audiences should be expecting, and it gave us that. And I was really, as someone who's like loved this franchise for a good long while, I really, really fucking enjoyed it. Like, I feel like, not to be mean towards the people that don't really know this franchise as well, but in terms of the people that watched these movies when they were younger, like me, Mark, and Rome, we ended up really fucking loving it. But the people who didn't really know this franchise as well, which is Devin and Rob, again, no offense to you guys, you just don't have that history with this franchise, ended up not liking it as much. Not saying you hated it, I'm just saying you didn't love it as much. So that's kind of the vibe.
You know what else I thought was, interesting about the structure of this film is that even though it's a legacy sequel, it doesn't play itself like a legacy sequel. Like, it doesn't treat any of the character intros as like grand emotional returns. It's just like another day in the job.
Oh, just like, yeah, it's just like, hey, like, it's like, oh, hey, it's Billy. Oh, hey, it's Taggart.
Yep.
I will say it is a little bit upsetting that they didn't have Ronnie Cox in this movie, because he was, I don't know if he was in the second one, but he was in the first one, and he's still alive. Like, I thought Ronnie Cox died like a long time ago, but he's still living. He's still kicking. He's in his 80s. Fucking,
Oh, and another
might as well use him.
thing, that another highlight of the film, Sergio's scene was really funny. Was that his name?
Yeah. I love how they really did that. I thought that was good.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Fuck!
Zach?
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Zach?
Yep.
Ever heard of something called WD-40, buddy?
What?
Miracle substance. You should try it. On
I'll
that
get one of my boys to WD-40 that.
WD-40.
WD-40.
Yes.
How do you not know what WD-40 is?
You
I
can
don't
tell
even know
because
what-
of the fan. Because that noise is driving me
I'm
nuts.
sorry.
It's a,
I'm sorry about
I was
that.
gonna say, Zach is secretly on a spaceship.
Yeah, he's Yeah, sorry, got
He's heading back to his home planet on the home planet of bad taste.
Yeah.
My boyfriend has something to say about that.
Sounds like his phone is going off.
Yeah, bring Ronnie Cox back, you cowards. Do it. Fuck you. He's
Do
great.
it. Do it.
Maybe in the next one. I mean, Eddie Murphy did say that they're in development on the 5th one already.
I wonder if it'll take as long as this one.
I just love how like somebody put like a how Mark, you know what I'm talking about with the famous ending scene of him in the car. They put the one from the first movie on top, and then they put the one from this movie, and it's like Reinhold and Ashton just look like decrepit sacks of shit, and then meanwhile Eddie Murphy just looks the same.
By the way, John, you said that Ronnie Cox was not in the second one. Because I thought he was.
I don't know. Okay. He was in the second one. No,
yeah.
I wasn't. I said I wasn't sure if he was in the second one.
He was.
I know. Obviously, I knew he was in the first one. I wasn't sure about the second.
Because he was the one.
Bring him back. Why not?
I was going to say because in the second one, he was shot in the second one.
What, did he die in that one?
No, he didn't.
Okay, then bring him back, fucking cowards. Do it, bitch. Because it's just like they have Taggart as chief, which like makes sense because he was more loyal to. He was older and more loyal to Ronnie Cox, but yeah, I fucking bring him back if they make a 5th one. Fucking like he's in the nursing home and they're like, oh, we need you one more time. Like, I don't know.
All right.
What, you want to?
No, I just realized.
What? What'd you just realize?
Zach's fan is annoying. Yes, we already know that, Devin.
Oh, absolutely. David Cornslet was in. David Cornslet was in Pearl.
He was in Pearl.
He was the protectionist.
That was one of the reasons why I thought he, like, outside of like, kind of having that face for it. That's why I thought he would be a good Superman, because he had a really good, like, Southern, like, Midwest charm. That's very Clark Kent. Like, he had that charisma and he had that, like, very Midwest charm that, like, that's perfect for him. So, I was like, oh yeah, I think he could do a good job there. So yeah, that was just a little side note. But yeah, that was the only thing I've seen. And then he was also in The Politician, which I've heard is very good. So yeah.
Never heard of it. Anything else to say?
I mean, yeah, great movie. Should have been released in theaters, but Netflix are pussies, so fuck them. But yeah, this was really great. I heavily enjoyed it.
What would we want to see out of another one?
I don't know, just kind of much of this, just do this again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only thing that I'd really want to see is 2 things. Make his daughter more likable, because she was a bitch in this.
No, she wasn't.
And
yeah,
2,
not really.
And 2, more screen time for him, Rosewood, and Taggart. The scenes they had were great.
Just like her absentee father who hasn't spoken for 30 years yet.
Yeah, I'd be a dick too if my father wasn't there for me for the first.
Well, what I mean is that
30 years of my life. So.
Well, what I mean is, it's a similar.
That's another cliche I've noticed with a lot of legacy sequels. Like, there's always the distant, the main nostalgic character is a distant parent. Johnny Lawrence in Cobra Kai, Indy in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. What's another one? That's just something I've noticed.
Scream 5. I mean, they have
Halloween 2018.
I mean, Scream 5.
Halloween 2018.
Yeah, Scream 5. I mean, David Arquette was distant. Dewey was kind of distant, but not from his kids, but from his ex-wife. I don't know if that counts, but like he was a distant character.
But what I mean, though, Mark, is that much like the issue I had with Helena in The Dial of Destiny, his daughter in this, the change came too late. She didn't start giving a shit about him until he took the bullet for her.
I mean, she had no reason to, though, Zach. I mean, shit. I mean, it's like they said, He hadn't even fucking apologized. He had the audacity. I want to know where he got that shit because, I mean, shit, he got some audacity. He had the audacity to tell her, oh, we both made mistakes. What the fuck mistake did she make? She was a fucking child.
You know,
for existing, because fuck you, bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that was the worst. That was the worst part about Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character in Dial Destiny. She existed.
Yeah.
Just existed. Fuck her.
What have you? How did you become like this? What do you mean? Beautiful, daring, self-sufficient?
Annoying.
Annoying, unbearably annoying, ungodly annoying.
Makes me want Willie to come back as much as I hate Willie.
Yeah. She could suck this Willie, fucking bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Well, not really. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure you'd catch something from her.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
even-
Overall, that's.
I don't really
that's just
think it had like a ton of like bad stuff in it. Like, I think this it set out to make a great action comedy. It made a great action comedy, just like its predecessors, and I think it did that very well.
Agreed.
So, yeah,
And like I
fuck all
said,
you.
that's the only thing I really want out of a 5 is more Rosewood and Taggart, and that I'll be happy.
I guess you can say, even though not totally, but what it set out to do, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Yeah, like it's not perfect, but it's perfect.
By the way, I want to correct something I said in my review when I said like Rosewood and Axel had great chemistry. I meant to say like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
But-
No, you're good, man.
Yeah.
You're good. But anybody else got anything? Who's got something to say? Anybody else?
Go see it. It's
Go
on
see it.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix, so you don't even got to leave your house.
Or if you hate Netflix, go the way we go.
Yo ho ho on the high
Bottle
seas.
rum.
Captain Morgan, that shit, not that Bacardi crap. Ew, gross.
Fuck you.
Or Malibu. Malibu is also pretty good. But yeah, good times. Go support your local or even multiplexes with MaXXXine. And well, I wouldn't say support Netflix because Netflix kind of sucks, but support this only so we can get a 5th movie because I wouldn't mind seeing that. But yeah. Next review we have it's a little bit up in the air right now, but we're expecting to do a review of the first, I believe it's 5 episodes of Cobra Kai season 6, speaking of legacy sequels. So we hope to do that, and we hope to get Jay to host it. We don't know when that's gonna be, but it'll be probably, since it's a TV show, it'll probably be a couple days after it airs. But that's what we will try to do. But if we don't, Zach, what would be after that?
Our next movie will be Twisters. Say it with me, guys. If you feel it. No?
No.
Jason.
No. Zach
No.
Gaxiola, the only person on planet Earth that is actually excited for Twisters.
Oh, I'm so excited, man. I cannot wait for this. Tyler Owens, man. But yeah,
Is that something you want to tell us?
Yeah, I mean, in the private chat, you said, "Come in me, daddy." Were you talking about Tyler Owens, Zach?
I mean, it's a judgment-free zone here.
We are in a safe space. We still love you no matter what. Just saying, Zach. We love you no matter what.
Yeah.
What can I say? Glenn Powell is a rising star.
He's
But yeah, look forward to our next movie review for Twisters.
And
Whether or not
maybe
they'll come out the exact weekend is up in the air because I do have a trip coming up. But yeah, that will be our next movie. So
next movie review. Hopefully we can do Cobra Kai in between that, but as I said, it's a little up in the air. But thank you for joining us for LA Bacon-A-Thon. We got some LA, we got some 80s throwback, we got some
and thanks to Devin
sequels,
for
and we
providing
got
actual
some
bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Who doesn't love some Kevin Bacon? And who doesn't love
Who
some
doesn't
real
love
bacon?
exactly?
Real
And
bacon. None of that vegan shit. None of that fake shit. None of that turkey bacon shit. No, real 100% bacon.
oh, and one more thing before we log off.
Bacon.
Before we log off, I just want to say, knock on wood, thank you all for 100 subscribers.
Yes.
We finally it took almost 2 years, but we reached 100 subscribers.
Yay!
One more thing I do want to bring up, because this was some pretty major news. Today we lost the producer of Avatar and Titanic, John Landau.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Thank you for that. But see you next time, ladies and gents. Thing.
Wrong one.
Once again, we have brought light into the world. You're welcome, America.